an investment destination.
Thank you for the non-response, Minister.
I made that clear in my opening remarks, and that is my view.
Thank you for the non-response, Minister.
Well, here's MP Freeland. She's doing a grilling and basically not answering fully. It seems that everything's going in the Liberals' way lately. C11, non-answers, and so forth. Check this out.
I'm gonna read you two quotes from your minister. At the recommendation of police, we invoked the Emergencies Act to protect Canadians. That's quote number one. Quote number two, the invocation of the Emergencies Act was only put forward after police officials told us they needed this special power.
A misunderstanding of the minister's words. A misunderstanding of the minister's words.
A misunderstanding of the minister's words. A misunderstanding of the minister's words.
Minister Freeland, you'll agree with me that the...
Madam Chair, on a point of order.
Yes.
I believe that if we don't have... I'm sorry to interrupt, but Madam Chair, I believe if we don't have a 4-minute round now, that prevents one Liberal from asking a round of questions to Minister Freeland, which would render an unfairness. So we would prefer to keep it to the 4 minutes as previously approved in the rules of procedure that we've passed by motion at this committee.
I believe Mr. Nackby will have a chance to ask the question.
There are 3 Liberals on the committee, Madam Chair.
Same number of rounds.
By going instead from 4 minutes to 5 minutes, you will eliminate the possibility of a third round, which eliminates the possibility of a third Liberal from asking questions.
We don't normally have a third round, but if I'm hearing an objection, so we'll go 4 minutes. Mr. Brock.
Should I restart my clock, Madam?
Yes, please.
I'm ready now, thank you.
Go ahead.
Minister Freeland, you'll agree with me that the state-owned, taxpayer-funded Canadian Broadcasting Corporation reported on February the 10th, 2022, that the GoFundMe donations to the convoy protest came from donors located outside of Canada. You'd agree with that?
I don't have the report in front of me, and I haven't memorized all CBC reports, but I'm prepared to believe you.
In fact, they stated that the donations came from America, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, and the Netherlands. You'd also accept that as fact?
I don't see the article before me, but you say that's what it says.
They even claimed that the convoy might be Russian-funded. Do you recall that?
Again, you're reading from the article.
Yes. On March 21st, 2002, the CBC, without any explanation, without apology, without any clarity, retracted their story regarding the funding of the protest. You were aware of that?
Again, I'm not speaking for the CBC. I'm speaking for the Ministry of Finance.
I'm not asking you to speak for the CBC. I'm asking, were you informed that the CBC retracted the story, the false story, about foreign funding donations to the convoy?
Again, Mr. Brock, I don't believe that the CBC is being interrogated here. I believe it's the government of Canada.
Just answer the question, Minister Freeland. Were you aware, yes or no? It's a simple question.
I don't have the article before me, and I'm not here to answer questions about the CBC and
the
its
Deputy
reporting.
Prime Minister, the most senior cabinet minister, is not prepared to accept whether or not the CBC retracted a false story?
I don't speak for the CBC, sir.
You, as the most senior cabinet minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, relied upon that initial story from the CBC and shared your concerns with Canadians regarding terrorism funding and money laundering. Your words, correct?
Let me be very clear. My principal concern when it comes to the illegal occupation and the illegal blockades is the economic harm that
Let
was
me
done
be
to
very
Canada.
clear, Minister Freeland. Your words several times in the House referred to terrorism funding and money laundering. Are you saying you didn't use those words?
I am speaking here today, and I am talking about the central motivation of our very serious
And
actions.
I'm here to ask you questions, and I expect, unlike question period, I expect a response. So my response is, do you recall using the words terrorism funding and money laundering in the House and reporting outside the House? Yes or no, Minister Freeland?
I believe if we were in a court of law where I think you once worked, that might be called badgering the witness, Mr. Brock.
Chair?
Yeah.
Can we allow the question to be answered?
Yes.
Thank you. As I said, my core concern as Minister of Finance and my central justification for these very serious measures that we put in place, as was clear in my opening statement.
You're not
as I
answering
have
the
said
question. I'm
throughout,
going to move on.
Is the economic
You're not
impact.
answering the question, and I will move on.
Madam Chair, on a point of order, it's entirely possible that Mr. Brock doesn't like the answers he's hearing, but the witness is entitled to provide an answer. If she could just be provided the opportunity to provide an
Madam
answer.
Chair, the witness may not like the questions, but she's not entitled to establish her own facts in responding to an answer that is non-responsive and not relevant to the question.
I'd actually just, we'll move back 20 seconds, allow you to ask your last question.
Do you agree with me that the Deputy Director of FinTrack, Mr. McKillop, confirmed at committee that the convoy funding did not come from terrorism funding or money laundering, and the typical person who donated hundreds and thousands of dollars to the convoy came from their own resources and posed no security threat? Do you accept that?
What I accept, Mr. Brock, is that the core threat was to the Canadian economy, to our reputation as a trading partner and investment destination.
Thank you
I
for the
made that clear in
non-response,
my
Minister.
opening remarks, and that is my view.
Thank you for the non-response, Minister.
But it's a very frustrating process when we have such limited time and such evasive answers. What we're looking for out of this committee are specifics, facts of the matter.
Mr. Green, would you like us to suspend to make sure your audio is correct? We will hold your time where you're at.
Please do. Well, how is it now? Is it echoing? It stopped.
It's fine for us on this end, so it appears to be something on your end.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to the most basic question. If the Minister of Finance can provide something generated within her department that is not an external reference to an American governor or any external bodies that quantify the threshold under Section 2. That goes beyond reputation. I'm talking about real economic impacts that are quantifiable, that her ministry, I would hope, would have generated in some kind of report, some kind of briefing, and if so, would she please provide it to this committee today?
The answer is actually when you both speak at the same time that is problematic. Go ahead, Minister.
Thank you. And I have to say, I disagree so forcefully with the premise of the question. Reputational damage when it comes to an economy, when it comes to a trading relationship, when it comes to Canada's
This is just repeating the same answer. You know, look, at the end of the day, we have a job at this committee to get to the heart of the matter. You can reject the premise of the question. All you have to say is that your ministry did not generate any internal information that would be for the good and the welfare of this committee, because that's what I'm hearing right now in the repeating of these answers. So I'm going to move on. It states on February 17th that you had spoken directly with the heads of major banks and the director of FinTrack. What was the nature of those conversations? And did banks and FinTrack express either support or opposition to any of the temporary measures in the order?
will the government waive, being the most senior official that's been here in this committee so far, will the government waive cabinet confidence and solicitor-client privilege on the documents ordered by this committee?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Motz. The government has received the motion and the public service is working on it diligently. I think everyone here appreciates the importance of cabinet confidentiality.
Thank you, which means that we won't get anything probably. Ms. Freeland, senior officials from your department who are with you here today had appeared before our committee this spring, earlier, and yet none of the witnesses you offered could speak to the economic implications that we asked of them from the protest in February. It's convenient for you, considering you put great stock not only in the invocation of the Act, but also in your statements today, claiming economic justifications for declaring a national emergency. Will you make available to this committee the appropriate expert witnesses who can actually defend these claims, these economic claims?
I can quote two experts if you'd like right now.
I don't want to quote them. I want them to name them from your department that can come here to this committee.
Well, a couple of experts I think it is worth listening to are Flavio Volpe, president of Canada's Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association.
Oh, sorry.
He was quoted widely in the press.
No, I'm sorry. The question was from your own department. Who from your department can answer specific questions on the economic impact that we asked last time that we couldn't get answers for? And can you provide them? Just a yes or no. If you could give us those witnesses and provide them, that'd be awesome, please.
As a former journalist, Mr. Motz, I always believe in going to primary sources, and another source I would urge you to, whose testimony I would urge you to refer to, is Michigan Representative Alyssa Slotkin, who made some very concerning comments during the blockades about the implications for the United States trading relationship with Canada.
Well, again, that doesn't necessarily have any impact on my question or the answer to my question on the expert witnesses from your department. My question then, relating to your department, did anyone in government instruct public servants to conjure up an economic narrative to support its decision to invoke the Emergencies Act?
No.
Was the government informed at any point by public servants that the economic data either didn't exist, that it did not answer the questions you wanted to be answered, or did not produce the results you preferred to hear? And if so, did the government instruct those public servants to generate numbers to back up its claims regardless of the data problems?
Mr. Motz, I am Canada's finance minister. I was our chief negotiator during the NAFTA negotiations, or I led the negotiations, assisted very ably by Steve Verheuel. I personally had many conversations and read many reports which caused me to be very concerned about the economic consequences of the illegal blockades and occupation. I spoke directly with Canadian business leaders who told me that they were hearing from investors that their confidence in Canada as an investment destination was shaken. I spoke directly from and read the comments of many U.S. political leaders who spoke about how the blockades were encouraging protectionism against Canada.
But my question was about within your own department. So you may not be aware of this, but there's a reason I'm asking that question. Just so that you are aware, your opening statements made some suggestions that, and the word you used was trade disrupted. But Stats Canada has reported that the cross-border trade actually in Ontario and Alberta during the time of the blockade was up 16% compared to last year. So it appears as if, although disruptive and inappropriate and illegal, the blockades of the borders did not have the economic impact that you're suggesting, and that it certainly did not warrant the use of the Emergencies Act in order, as you suggest. One other question I may have. So you said that there's 280 accounts that you froze, around $8 million, you suggest. What caused the government to continue to freeze those bank accounts after the blockades were cleared and the trucks were gone from Wellington?
I have to go back to your previous assertion about the economic damage, Mr. Motz, because I was very gravely concerned about the damage to our trading relationship with the United States and our reputation as a reliable partner. I have to quote Representative Slotkin, who said, "One thing that couldn't be more clear is that we have to bring American manufacturing back home to states like Michigan.
So you're disputing
we have to
Stats
continue the work."
Your 5 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Well,
Don't forget to like, dislike, subscribe, and comment. Safe Space Cafe. And always, have a good day.